Yeah, put both in. Hello. Welcome to the SVHS podcast. Today I've got Brendan Hogan on.
Hello.
You can say hi, yeah.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, I know. I'm here every day. Today we're going to be talking about the midterms. Midterms as in the 2018 elections that are happening next Tuesday.
Not the tests at the end of the semester.
Yeah, not the school midterms. Some people were a little bit confused about that.
Yeah, I was confused until about 2 hours ago.
Did you think we were talking about?
I really did.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
well,
it's a little embarrassing. But,
yeah, well, you know about the midterms anyways. So
yes, I do.
Yeah, we talk about it in our Gov class a little bit. And then I know Brendan and I are both a little more passionate than just our curriculum.
Yeah, we go beyond because we definitely don't want to be looking unintelligent in any conversation we might get thrust into.
Yeah, I mean, I want to major in political science, so I don't really want to look like an idiot there. Yeah.
That would not be ideal.
That's not a good idea. Yeah. All right. So, I'll probably give a disclaimer right now. Brendan and I are both probably not opposites, but
we're opposites on most things.
We disagree on some things. I find us to actually agree on more things than we disagree on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also find that we have the ability to have a reasonable discussion, which should be normal in politics, but for some reason it's not.
It's fantastic, but
yeah,
it should happen more often than it does.
Yeah. Especially right now, it's really important that people need to be able to talk about issues and stuff. So disclaimer right now, if you know me, you probably know this, or if you have known of me for a long time, you probably know that I lean more on the liberal side.
And I tend to lean more to the conservative side.
Yeah. So
on most issues, not all, but most.
Same for me. Yeah. So
a lot more conservative economically, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, liberal and conservative both come from the economic things.
Yeah. True.
For some reason, they're associated with social issues now, but
yeah, just I think it's more of like people try to use it as more of a clarifying term than the Republican Party or the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And it's just become common to use that to define people who might be in either party.
And now also it seems like both of them are dirty words for some reason.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
It makes no sense to me either. Like when someone calls me a liberal and I know they're trying to be demeaning, I'm like, don't.
It's definitely something that I go through. Like if people don't come up to me often and like say, "Oh, you're conservative," that means you're like a bad person. And
it doesn't mean you're a bad person. No,
I know that.
Yeah, but some people need that.
That think that, and that's like,
which is I feel that's very wrong.
It's retrogressive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going the wrong way from what people think that they're doing.
Yeah. If you want to be more accepting and understanding, you should listen to, I feel like, every side.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's some times where some sides shouldn't really be as
there's
considered
some
as
angles.
Yeah, some angles.
That,
I feel like
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But to accept all sides of the argument, you can't just be focusing on what the argument is.
Yeah.
You need to focus on who the argument's for and who's making the argument for those people.
And also try and understand where they come from when they're making that argument too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that, at least in my experience, has helped a lot with how I can understand someone's political beliefs.
It doesn't happen much anymore. And especially considering politics used to be taboo.
Yeah, it seems like so recently it's been a thing where everybody thinks about it.
Because, I mean, in my house, my parents never talked to me about politics until I ended up bringing them up when I was about 14, 15, because I didn't know what was going on.
Essentially similar. Like I knew what was going on. Like I remember stuff happening, but I don't remember talking about it with my parents. I remember Obama being elected, but I don't remember like I was 7.
Yeah, my parents would never tell me who they voted for until just in the last year.
Yeah, my parents don't tell me.
Last election.
My parents don't tell me unless I ask.
Yeah.
And then, I can't vote right now. So it doesn't really influence the way I think.
No, I don't think my parents influenced me too much. I mean, I'm going to say there's like a little bit, because obviously
I would say
it can't not happen.
Yeah, I would say it's just like your platform, pretty much.
You hear what you hear growing up.
Yeah.
And even if you don't understand it, when you start to form your political beliefs,
you start to believe it. Yeah.
It's forms a baseline.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
like there's stuff.
Sometimes you go total opposite from what
that
they
also
say.
does happen. Yeah, I know a couple of people where that happens.
I know a couple of people too.
I think we're probably talking about the same person.
I do believe so.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I totally lost what I was gonna say.
You'll think of it. I believe me.
Right. Oh, it wasn't a different topic. It was on the same thing. Like I remember there's been things where my parents and I 100% agree on, but then there's been more things where we actually strongly disagree on it.
Yeah, and it's a different age. It's a different generation.
Yeah.
And they grew up with different things to formulate their beliefs.
And different ways of like talking about things.
Yeah, and especially now that everybody, at least our age, is so much more open about politics. It's really, from what I've seen, it's getting more people to think about their beliefs, but not necessarily check their beliefs.
That's true too. I find that with some of our classmates, I've seen it many times. They'll make baseless claims.
Yes.
Or they'll just see stuff online and believe it.
Yeah. And it was actually a topic that came up in economics the other day. What was it? It was a form of information that the internet can provide to you, which was like, it provides efficient information, but it also provides information that doesn't necessarily need to be fact checked.
Yeah, and I'm writing my research paper on this actually for my senior project.
Oh.
And one of the things I was reading about was cognitive studies have proven that even if something is completely 100% false, if you see it, you'll believe it after a while.
Yeah.
So that's, social media at play there.
And it's impossible not to see things constantly anymore,
yeah, exactly.
Especially with
social
phones,
media,
television, everything. It's always on. It's always everywhere.
And that's another thing. That's another factor in what I think has contributed to the rise of like politics becoming mainstream, is because now I can look at official White House statements on Twitter because Trump's tweets are they're classified and they're stored and documented as official White House statements.
Yeah, and
which some of them are a little goofy, but that's a whole different episode. I feel like
we could go for hours, I'm sure. And I don't think that's something that we disagree on. I do agree that he does get a little, in your words, goofy.
There's some interesting things that are being said, and that I'm sure the people that work at the Library of Congress are like, do we seriously have to store this?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Well,
do you want to start actually talking about the midterms? Because I feel like we have enough exposition to work off of here.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course.
All right. So probably first talk about the governor race.
Yeah.
Which is
Gavin Newsom
and John Cox. Gavin Newsom is the Democratic candidate. John Cox is the Republican candidate. Let's see. I think John Cox is a former businessman, and then Gavin Newsom
was the mayor of San Francisco
and Lieutenant General. I don't know. I think it was Lieutenant General of California, or Lieutenant something that starts with a G. Sorry, I don't have the word. I feel stupid now. But oh shoot. I have a way. We were talking about this earlier, the jungle voting system we have in California.
Because I brought up how I found it really odd that there wasn't a Republican candidate for the Senate race. It's it's Feinstein versus that
would be one. Isn't it one
like
one of the districts? I don't
something.
know. Yeah.
But they actually, that's like the first time that I've ever seen that happen actually.
Yeah.
Or been invested in something like that, because I'm going to be able to vote in the next major election.
Yeah, me too.
Not necessarily, and like I'd like to be able to vote in this midterm, but obviously
can't do
my
that.
birthday prevents that. But.
Yeah. I also feel stupid for saying this, but I don't know if there's actually an election next year.
I think they're biannual.
There won't be
not biannual.
I know what you mean.
Yes.
Twice a year, or not twice a year.
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
Every 2
right.
years.
Okay. Yeah. So the next time we'd be able to vote would be the presidential election in 2020.
Yep.
And then I won't even be in the state by then, so I don't think I can vote in the primaries. I can.
What is
residency?
The residency.
Yeah, 18 months.
18 months.
Context for listeners: I plan on moving out of state after high school, so I can do absentee voting, so I can mail in my ballot because I'll still be a resident of California. I won't be a resident of whatever state I live in. But I don't think I'm going to be able to vote in primaries, which is a little disappointing, but regardless.
Especially for a poli-sci major.
Yeah, exactly. But then even if I establish my residency in DC, I don't think they have primaries there. They just vote. I know that the only thing they vote for in DC is presidential candidates because they don't have representation.
Because it's technically an area.
It's a district. Yeah. But their license plates are funny. Their license plates say taxation without representation.
Seriously?
No, that's actually their official license plate. I think that's kind of funny. And I know there's a big push right now to get statehood there. So
51 states.
50. Well, I mean, Puerto Rico could potentially become a state.
There are a lot of.
There are a lot of territories that could potentially become states.
Yeah. And that's actually an interesting concept. Like, what I know, we put a lot of effort into those states. We help them countries, states,
territories. Yeah, that's what I think.
And what classifies a territory becoming a state? Like, what does it need to do?
It has to pass Congress, and it has to pass.
But how
Senate, maybe.
How does a territory go about that?
Usually a bill is introduced, and then that's how Hawaii was a territory for a long time, and then in the 50s it became a state. I think a bill is introduced in Congress, or
would it be based on perhaps economic benefits or resource benefits?
Usually
you have to propose something that your territory can provide to actually be of use and declare statehood.
Yeah, the main argument against Puerto Rico becoming a state currently is that a lot of people don't see the economic benefits of having that as our 51st state.
It tends to run. It is underdeveloped.
It is, and the country's also bankrupt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why we would take on that country's debt in just adding on to what our debt already is.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that position, but also I feel like it should be taken. It's often not considered that Puerto Ricans are American citizens, so technically it's helping your fellow citizen.
And we do give them support.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes it hasn't been
gone about in
the right way.
Yeah. And cough, hurricane, cough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
And but despite that, do you feel that a territory deserves the same, I guess, amenities that a state receives?
Yes. Because they have American passports and they operate under the Constitution, but they can't, they're not represented. So I feel like at least for a country like America that touts its democracy as something that we're extremely proud of, which makes sense.
We go around the world trying to promote that.
Yeah, which is sometimes doesn't work out that awesome. But historically, we're very proud of our democracy, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I think it would only make sense that we give representation to all of our citizens. That also goes back to the DC thing.
But that also
because that's what the country was founded on.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want to be taxed without representation.
But that also brings up another good point: is what gives us the right to try to force other countries into becoming democratic?
Right.
Because we've attempted it multiple times before, and we've enacted it in some countries.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not.
Sometimes it does not, and I think we all know the examples.
Yeah. A lot of
there've been attempts.
Central America and Middle East mostly.
Yeah.
Is where we try and promote it, and sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't turn out as we would want it, I would assume.
Yeah.
But regardless, that was quite the tangent.
Twice.
Yeah, we were supposed to be talking about the governor race. We started with jungle politics, and then it evolved from there. Okay, so back to the jungle politics thing. The explanation for that is California is a state where when we hold primaries for our races, we don't choose the top two or the top from each party or each major party to be the candidates for whatever race, like Senate or governor. It's just the top two who get all the votes.
The top two overall.
Yeah, top two overall. So I think in the governor primary, Gavin Newsom got 33% of who showed out for that, and then John Cox got 24%. So they were the top two, and so they are the...
It's a little surprising to me, but...
Which one?
That John Cox is even on the ballot. Because of the population density of California.
That's true.
If you look at a political map of California, the extremely dense areas like LA, Santa Barbara, Bay Area are all
very liberal places.
Very blue. Very blue.
And I feel like sometimes people don't take into consideration Southern California is, I won't say extremely conservative because relative to other places, it's not. Mm-hmm. California overall is a pretty liberal place.
Yes. For sure.
But there's places like San Diego and Orange County where like San Diego was pretty much a city built around a military base.
Yeah.
So I don't associate the military with any political party, but it seems that
for the most part, I don't want to make generalizations.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
In my experience, military personnel tend to be more
conservative. Yeah. Which, not like, I feel like we have to say this a bunch because at least from what I've interacted with the student body, there are some people have negative connotations towards certain political leanings. I'm going to say it again. I'll probably say it like 5 more times throughout the podcast. No political leaning is like a bad thing. Like, the whole point of why our country the way it is because everybody has different beliefs.
And they have the right to have their own beliefs.
Exactly. So,
and another thing people don't understand, and this is another disclaimer, it might go the wrong way, but what people don't understand is everybody has a right to their own beliefs.
Yeah. Even
if those beliefs are entirely morally wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen many examples of it just in the last week.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, and let's take the example of that bakery in Texas a couple years ago. Yeah, we're going there. And so what was it? The state of Texas deemed it legal to deny service based on sexual preference.
I have no idea what the state. I know that the lawsuit went up the chain of courts, so eventually made it to Supreme Court.
Yeah. Do you recall what the final verdict was?
The verdict was, it was really unclear. When they put it out, the language was like extremely, obviously the Supreme Court. So the language they used was legal based.
Yeah.
But the way that like the mainstream media interpreted it was that they ruled in favor of the bakery, but they just ruled in, they haven't reached a final verdict, I don't think. You can fact check me on that, I guess. Probably will be fact checked on that. I think from what I recall, this happened a couple months ago. What I recall was that they ruled that the way the case was settled wasn't within, like the case was eventually settled, but it's reopened because the Supreme Court ruled that the way it was settled was not within the confines of the Constitution. I think that's what it said. I know that it's still a case
still
that's
bouncing around.
Yeah, it's still bouncing around. It's not really at the top of the news because there's other things going on with the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But
we don't need to get into that.
no, we don't really need to talk about that. I feel like that's been talked about a lot.
Too much.
But
back to what I was saying.
right, I totally forgot.
They, however screwed up it is, they have a right to believe that.
Yeah, technically they do have a right to refuse service. In California, at least, I don't know how it is in Texas, but let's say this happened in California. Within the confines of the law in the state of California, yes, they do have the right to refuse service.
They have the right to refuse service.
Yeah, private companies
for any reason.
Yeah.
And
which sometimes can be used in bad ways. I would say maybe 1 in a million times it's used in a hateful way.
Yeah.
Usually it's used in a just way.
Yeah, like somebody coming into the store or restaurant or whatever, being super loud, disrespectful.
Yeah, you can refuse them service.
And that's why the law is in place.
Yeah.
Some people take advantage of that to advocate for their own personal beliefs.
Yeah, but usually not, because a business owner wouldn't want to refuse anybody business.
Yeah,
because
that hurts them.
That hurts them. Yeah, only if something is so like, I will not do this.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, and as long as nobody.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to look at the cameras, but sometimes I do.
As long as nobody incites violence.
Yeah.
People have a right to say what they want, and they have a right to free speech.
Yeah. You don't have to listen, but they do have the right to say it.
And another thing that I've always found I found it to be true, and I always liked saying it because, I don't know, I think it's funny. You have a legal right to be annoyed.
Yeah.
Can you act on it? No.
No. Unless you... Well, yeah, technically no. I was gonna say unless you can do something about it, but like not in a bad way. I'm not like saying do something about it. You know,
can't be saying that on here. I might be taken the wrong way.
Well, don't do something about it if you don't.
No, do what's happening here.
Yeah, exactly. Have a conversation
before anybody gets up in arms.
Yeah,
and that can actually be a good segue.
Is that the proposition?
Into a proposition.
Yeah. I don't have my proposition notes with me, so you're going to have to read the summaries.
Well,
we talked about the props in our Gov class. And I remember writing down, I don't remember exactly how I would vote for each one, but I remember we wrote down how we would vote. But I don't remember them exactly because propositions are kind of boring.
They are.
They are, but they're very important. Very important. Yeah.
Obviously. They affect and the most important
propositions.
Most important of them all is Proposition 7. Which
one's that one? That was really smooth. I'm glad we got back on track. We went on a big tangent.
It's good.
All right, Prop 7.
Good television. Prop 7 is to repeal daylight savings time, and I think that's the most important decision that the state of California has made.
I thought you were going to talk about the mental health proposition, but we can get into that later.
That probably would have been a better idea, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about the props anyways. We needed to get off that tangent.
Yes,
okay, daylight savings. How did you... Do you want to keep daylight savings, or do you want to get rid of it?
I want to get rid of it. I want the entire year to be on a 24/7 clock with no time switches, because what was actually proven scientifically is that the risk of heart attack and the risk of stroke actually increases by 10 and 8% respectively when that time switch happens. When you lose an hour of sleep or if you gain an hour of sleep, it's. I feel like something like this should have been passed a long time ago.
Yeah, it should. I mean, there's some states that no longer have it.
But that's weird because soon California, if say
honestly,
Oregon
I
and
think
Washington
I think that daylight savings will go away. I don't really know.
I think it will too.
This seems like the most nonpartisan proposition on the list.
Yeah,
that, like pretty much most people can agree on. There's not that many good arguments to keep daylight savings.
There isn't really.
There's it's like a sentence.
I remember reading the arguments 2 and 4 in the actual like voting.
Yeah, book. The book. Yeah.
And there was no argument to keep daylight savings time.
Yeah. I understand why we got it in the first place. I think we got it World War II to preserve energy so we could produce more stuff for the war.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Made sense back then. But
why we didn't revert back?
It's like
it's a little confusing.
To me, the daylight savings is kind of like we're on the empirical system here, right? For like temperature and measurements. Well, temperature we're Fahrenheit. Okay, and then measurements standard system?
Yes.
Okay.
Feet, inches.
Yeah, right.
Fahrenheit. Yes.
So I feel like it's similar to that where like eventually everybody got comfortable with it and then they didn't want to go back because people don't really like change that much.
There have been measures in the past to try to switch the United States over to the metric system.
But usually the public doesn't like that.
Yeah, because we've all grown up on the standard system. And in some cases, like, that's all right. Bless you.
Thank you.
In some cases, that's all right. But in other cases, we get thrown into science classes.
I would say
and math classes that are based on metric system measurements. And
I would say
it's a whole new system that we have to learn.
If the United States wants to regain its footing as a major power in the STEM field, which we've lost in the last couple of decades, we should
Japan, China.
Yeah,
Germany.
We should go to what's the other system called? Metric?
Metric.
Yeah,
yes.
We should go to the metric system.
Yeah.
Because there have been so many mistakes that American scientists and like engineers have made when working abroad just because they forgot to convert. Like there have been spaceships that have blown up because sometimes they forgot to communicate on what system they're using.
Yeah. And that's
so
that's ridiculous to
ridiculous.
Even consider.
Yeah. Back to daylight savings.
I think it should leave. California is going to be put on its own time zone compared to other West Coast states.
So are there no propositions by the other states? I don't expect you to know this.
I don't know, but I'm sure there are going to be some states that are voting on this year, and then in another 2 years they're going to be voting on it again.
I would assume if California does this, other states will follow.
California does seem to be
California
setting trends.
Sometimes sets a trend for other West Coast states.
Yeah.
So I would also be surprised if other states didn't follow California into recreational marijuana legalization.
And so many states already have.
So many states already have, yeah.
And then
but I'd just be surprised. Like California seems like a huge one that everybody will take notes from.
Yeah, everybody was expecting it to happen.
Yeah.
And now that it actually passed.
Eventually it will happen nationwide. It'll take a lot of time.
It might not be federally justified ever, but it might be just
state,
legal.
Yeah,
it might
justified.
Be state. Yeah. It might just be individual to the state.
Yeah.
But all 50 states are in union.
Yeah. Well, I mean, each state should make its own decision on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how the system's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I mean, sometimes there's stuff where we rule it nationwide. They don't do that often, though. The most recent thing I can think of was the free marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And another example of something that is state justified and not federally justified are sanctuary cities. Yeah. And I'll leave that topic to.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
I feel like that warrants its own episode.
It does,
because there's a lot you can talk about, a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of research that needs to be done
and
that I haven't done.
And so let's just go right back to the
propositions.
So Proposition 1 is for veterans and affordable housing, and it's for a $4 billion bond, like federal bond.
Yeah, but doesn't it also take money away from?
And it doesn't. I feel like it did. No, there was already money allocated for it.
Yeah, there was. Sorry, I was thinking about something else that takes money away from.
Yeah.
That was the mental health housing.
Yes.
Thing that takes money away from the research.
And the no vote would mean that the state couldn't receive the $4 billion in federal funding, because I would.
$4 billion is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and over the years, that interest rate's gonna keep compounding, and then by the time we pay it off, it's gonna be around $8 billion.
Yeah. It's gonna make immediate affordable housing, but then for everybody in the long term, it's gonna cost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it might seem a little heartless to vote no, but $8 billion on top of everything.
Some of the propositions, for whichever way you vote, some people could see it as like, oh, you're a horrible person, but there's really good reasons for. The only one proposition that has no good reason to vote like either way on is the daylight savings one.
Yeah.
But each other proposition has genuine and complex arguments for both sides.
Yeah. So and I'm not saying I'm
and
against,
both sides are valid.
I'm not saying I'm against like
affordable
the state.
Housing.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes they use titles for the propositions to make them like affordable housing for veterans. Like, how could you vote no on that? But
it's
you read the small text. Yeah, $4 billion,
which turns into $8 billion that we're gonna have to pay back. So Proposition 2 is the No Place Like Home Act, which is the mental health funds. So
which one
to
is
help,
this one?
It's to help with
the mental health
homeless
housing. Yeah. But I remember I was reading more into this proposition. It takes money away, or it doesn't take money away, but it's gonna share funds with mental health research. I'm pretty sure that's this one.
And what was the number? Like how much?
I don't know how much it was, but I don't think I actually got an exact number, but all I knew was that for this one I did vote no.
And I
let me read it again actually. Okay,
I think
vote yes on this measure means the state could use existing county mental health funds to pay for housing. Yeah. So
and a yes vote means the state.
No, that's a yes vote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's a yes vote.
Yeah.
So the reason, well, I voted no on it. I can't vote. I theoretically voted no on it in class because I thought I
actually got it wrong on my sheet here.
Yeah.
I theoretically probably would have voted no for it as well.
Because I thought it was wrong that the proposition was taking money away from mental health research funds to go to housing because the researchers need that money. Like they actually was the wrong choice of words. They use that money. They need the money that they get from that. I feel like it's going to strain the research funding too much if they take money away from that for housing. Like it's not that I don't want housing for mentally ill or like mentally recuperating, but taking money away from research seems like not the best move.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and that means we can move on because this one is the big one.
Which one's this one? Prop 3?
It's Prop 3, and it's about water supply and quality, and it's got a ton of other branches to it, but the federal loan.
Oh, it's gonna sell almost $9 billion.
$9 billion
in general obligation bonds to fund various water and environmental projects.
And it's interesting to me because obviously I don't find like exorbitant amount of money to be like the play. And even though we do need stuff like that, it doesn't that much money eventually to be paid back by us, the taxpayers of the state of California.
Yeah.
And it eventually doubling. I don't usually see the point in that. But obviously, California has a water problem.
We have a big water problem.
So Prop 3, I would actually vote yes on this.
I would also vote yes on this because water is
water.
Yeah, we live in a desert. We're always in a drought because, like I just said, we live in a desert. So water, it's not just water though, it's water and environmental projects.
Yeah.
So those are like probably some of the most important things to our state.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, moving on. And okay, Prop 6 is actually the gas tax. And a vote yes would mean to repeal the tax. And they're very good with the wording. Yeah, the state of California, because they don't want to repeal the gas tax.
Yeah.
Because it gives them money to do whatever they want with. They say it goes to roads and like maintenance and all that. But not necessarily.
Pay for highway and road maintenance and repairs as well as transit programs.
Yes. It doesn't necessarily all go there. So especially with rising gas prices and especially as a 17-year-old boy, I don't want the gas tax.
Yeah. That's is that's not the first one I think that we disagree on. I would vote to not repeal it because, at least from what I experience in town and around town, the roads here are not awesome.
Yeah.
So
and it's not cutting funding entirely to road maintenance. Yeah. It's reducing it, and significantly, albeit. But repealing
the gas tax doesn't make sense to me, at least, because gas is still a consumer good and you tax those.
Yeah, you know, but you don't tax some consumer goods like foods.
Food, but that's different because you need food.
In this world, do you need gas?
Well, you don't need. If you don't have gas, it's not like you die.
That's true. That's true.
Like we have public transit and stuff.
So what do those run on?
Gas, yeah. But like the state's paying for those. So that's not my money, or it is my money, but like I'm not paying for the gas that the bus driver uses. So
yeah. And like obviously they're finding alternatives for buses and things like that.
Yeah.
Electricity, natural gas, which is still gas, but slightly better for the environment. All right. Moving on, or actually Prop 7 was the daylight savings time.
So we already got that.
Prop 8
we're skipping.
Is it's a skip.
It's another property one? Or is that?
No, it's the
the kidney dialysis. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna skip that.
Neither of us have extensive.
Yeah. It's also pretty. Yeah. All right. Skip.
Prop 11 is the private ambulance companies.
Don't even remember reading about that one.
It's basically saying if EMTs are on their break or workers are on their break, they are either allowed to ignore a call until they're off their break.
Right. So what?
Or like they would have to end their break and come back to it later to go out on that call.
Right.
So So
they do get, just clarifying, if their break gets interrupted, they do get to go back to it later.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like it just goes away.
So no means that they would be subject to labor laws, which means that they would have to take that 15-minute break and
they wouldn't be able to respond to calls.
30-minute hour lunch, and they would not be able to respond.
Okay.
And then
yes would be that they can respond to those calls.
They are allowed to.
Okay. I probably would. You voted yes.
I voted yes.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, while it does, like labor laws are important, I feel like those types of jobs are, I'm not going to say not subject to the same laws, but they're a little different than like.
They have different ramifications.
Yeah. Obviously. Your everyday maintenance worker.
In some situations, it's life and death.
Yeah.
So,
well, in most situations, it is life and death.
Yes.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, I think a yes vote
makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and
Prop 12, that's the last one?
Prop 12. Oof.
Which one's this one?
This is the one about the chicken and the egg laying.
Yeah, the cage sizes. I don't actually know what I'd vote on this, just because of information that Liam brought to my attention earlier about, I feel like I would need to do more research on this before I establish my opinion. Because it seems like the wording of the proposition and a vote yes or a vote no is very confusing, and some people are aligning themselves with whatever vote just because of what the people that are promoting the proposition say a vote yes is for.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
and that tends to happen with
every proposition.
Every prop.
Yeah.
There's always
obviously
going to be.
You're not going to read through every single word unless you're that's just what type of person you are.
But one thing that actually comes in the booklet, when you read over the props and you can read the actual legal language, or you can read a summary of it, is it comes with companies or organizations
that support it.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thanks.
And sometimes that is a good way to establish how you would.
Yeah.
I say sometimes because that's not all the time.
Yes, because sometimes people just throw their support behind a company that they think represents them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a majority of Americans trust Amazon as a company. I do not trust Amazon as a company.
No, they're going to take over the world.
They're going to take over the world. I'm really scared of Amazon.
Could be worse.
It could be worse, but it could be better.
I don't know why. That's capitalism.
That's show business, baby. Yeah. All right. I feel like.
Yeah, I'd abstain. I mean, I have a vote on here, but with that information our friend brought up to us earlier, I would actually have to read it more because
our friend told us that when he was looking into the proposition, he discovered that the language was very confusing, and a vote yes did not mean what he thought it meant before he was actually reading.
And that a vote no might also go backwards to what the poultry and the pigs have now.
Yeah.
Which is not what I understood from the first take.
Obviously, propositions are confusing.
Yeah, they're in some cases designed to confuse people.
Which, yeah, exactly. Because
into making them the morally correct choice.
Yeah,
which is honestly quite sad.
It's really sad, but
the fact that lawmakers use legal language to confuse people, to confuse the population and get them to vote in favor of what they want.
That happens a lot.
It's sad.
Yeah.
But that covers
all the props.
All the props.
We don't have a lot of time.
We do not.
We have 5 minutes until the period ends. We've been going for a really long time.
We actually have. But I've enjoyed myself.
I've enjoyed this as well. And I feel like maybe I'll change the topic from just midterms to politics in general because we talked about, I feel like we talked
about midterms for about 5 minutes.
I feel like we talked more about the political landscape today than we did talk about the midterms.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe in the future.
Which is, I think, honestly more beneficial.
Definitely.
Yeah. In the future, we can have more episodes about this.
Because that sets up new episodes where you could dive more deeply into specific subjects.
Exactly.
Which we might have strong differing opinions about.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously we want other people to come on these kinds of episodes. Some people that we talked to weren't super comfortable with making their political beliefs like known to the entire school, which is totally okay.
Yeah.
Like that is totally okay. The only reason I'm comfortable with this is because like I want to do this type of thing when I join the workforce. Like I want to work in government.
And I'm comfortable doing this because I want people to know that not everybody that's conservative leaning is a nightmare or evil or morally incorrect.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
a lot of weird connotations.
There are a lot of things that could go into that. Yeah. And I think that'll have to be saved for a different episode.
That could be saved for a different episode. But that's the end of today's episode. Unless you have anything else to say. But I feel like we've talked about enough. About a lot. I mean, obviously we could say a lot more, but we've talked about enough for today. So that's it for today. That's the end of episode 2. Join us next week. We're going to be talking about music. I'll have some guests on. We're going to be talking about our favorite songs and why we like them. So, Brendan, you want to say bye?
Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye. That's it. I forgot to mention this while we were recording, but I'll mention it right now. Don't forget to vote. The election's on Tuesday. So that's, what is that, November 6th?
November 6th.
Yeah, November 6th. Don't forget to vote if you can vote. Yeah. I mean, not a lot of students at the school can vote, but if you can, you should.
But if for some reason you're an adult watching this and you don't plan on
voting.
Well,
I mean, my parents watch this. They want to see what I'm doing.
My parents are going to watch this too.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can vote, go vote. It's your civic duty. It's like one of the most important things you can do right now.
Be a citizen of California.
Be a citizen of the United States. Yeah. Jinx. Gotcha. So go vote on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week for music.